Hi there, welcome to Top Brass, and this is Boris Joaquin. And for today's episode, we are excited to actually have with us the EVP and COO of Century Pacific Food Incorporated. He's none other than Greg Banzon. Thank you, Greg, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, I know you're very busy, and we really appreciate you taking time for us to be here.
Of course.
There's so many facets of you, sir, that we want to talk about. But one of the things that we want to talk about is the fact that you are a winning marketing executive. How does it feel to actually be doing all these things and be successful?
How does it feel? Of course, it's always good to be part of like a team that's always winning, or at least at a competitive level. And I think I attribute it to having, like, as I said, that attitude of being competitive and always looking out at what the opportunities out there look like.
I like what you said. Basically, 2 words is you work with a team that allows you to win, and you have that competitive spirit.
Right.
How long have you been working with Century Pacific Food? Close to a decade, I suppose.
9 years, going on 10. It doesn't seem like it's been 10 years.
It's time flies when you're having fun. Did you have an original team, or did you form that team as you start your journey and continuing further?
No, in just a period of 9 years, I've seen this company evolve. Used to be we turned 40 a year ago.
Okay.
And it was still a balance. It was still a balance between traditional, family-owned, and corporate. And more and more, you could see over the last few years an increasing tendency towards really professionalizing, being more corporate. And we also turned public in 2014. So that was like it's like a starting point for bringing it even to a higher level of professionalism.
Well, congratulations! So many milestones that you mentioned.
I know.
Just going public and celebrating your anniversary.
Right.
In moving towards being professionalizing the operations and all that, what were the challenges that you faced?
Actually, it was a smooth sailing. Maybe people say, how true is that? So, but when we came in, the Po family is very keen on really continuing the legacy of growth and excellence that their father started. And so the sons have pretty much maintained that legacy, continuing to improve on the base and growing, and looking for bigger and bigger challenges, but always staying within very strict corporate governance principles in moving things forward. So because of that attitude that they had about sustaining long-term success, the basic prescriptions of always having like good process, good governance, clear vision, and founded on strong principles have always been in place, and it's helped us compete and grow.
Would you say that being a family-owned business helped the company become more united as a team, or have that family harmony feel culture?
Yeah, that can be double-edged. There are some companies that have like conflicting interests within family members, and this balance between what's good for family members and what's good for the corporate. But that's not present here. I think they're very mindful of putting the right people in place, regardless of, let's say, whether they are part of the family or otherwise. You have here people who have stayed here over 30 years, 25 years, and it's testament to, I guess, what the Po family have been able to do, like putting the right people in place and really driving the right principles.
Beautifully said. And that's what composes the team, the right type of people, the right type of players and performers. Let's talk about the competitiveness. So did you bring that in, or was that already inherent in the culture?
Yeah, I think the founder is very competitive. His story is very interesting. He migrated from China at a young age and educated himself, taught himself English and Tagalog. He wrote for the Chinese journal. He was a journalist first and went into advertising, and that's where he learned branding. He was the one who designed the SM logo.
Okay.
So that's how far back he goes. But servicing mostly some of the Chinese companies here, and then eventually migrating into mainstream Philippine business. And then at some point, he went into manufacturing, food manufacturing, as I mentioned, 40 years back. And I think it was his competitive drive. He saw that there were a lot of fish being caught here, sent to the US, and sent back here in canned form. So he said, the Philippine business community can do, even better than what the US companies could do. So he started packing for Japanese and US companies, but with the intent of coming out with his own brand, and then having an advertising background enabled him to, move forward in that direction. And so that I guess is the essence of what the company is about: being very entrepreneurial, competitive, and always guided by right corporate principles. And that's what he's driven forward. And when I got here, you could see it. The sons are also very competitive, very entrepreneurial, and that's cascaded all the way down throughout the organization. I was really brought in to help enhance that level of competitiveness.
Wonderful. I mean, once the vision is there, culture and the spirit of the winning attitude is already automatically follows. They just need the right champions like you. Let's talk about you, Greg. I mean, what were the highlights of your career? I mean, especially in marketing leadership. How did you end up being Greg Banzon, marketing executive?
No, it started out actually, that was my course in college. I really wanted to get into marketing, but so I'll just reveal my age. So I come from the generation of Marcos days. So we were in college, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and it was the glory days of the big marketing companies like Procter and Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Unilever, Colgate. And that's what I wanted to pursue, but opportunities were few and far between. And I had a brother who was working for Unilever, so there was a bit of a competitive issue. So I landed in Citibank, worked there for about 2 years.
Which was starting, palang, right?
Yeah. And learning how money works, and it kind of made me a little bit more mature, given that Citibank was a very formal business environment. But then from there, I really learned that I didn't want to work for a bank. I really wanted to go to marketing. So I navigated my career into marketing. So I did brand management for the Germans under Bayer. And then after a few years, joined Johnson & Johnson and stayed there for 10 years. And I think it's that experience with multinational companies that enabled me to see the process of marketing and the impact on our organization and how to execute.
And now you're building a local brand. Become global.
Well, that was the intent. So far so good. We're trying.
Right now you're present in 42 countries.
62
countries.
Right.
But when you started, it was just about 60
20 or so, less than 20. Yeah. So some of our products are a bit universal. So tuna is a universal product. So whether you are in China, Russia, the Middle East, or North America, South America, people eat tuna or canned tuna. So we're fortunate to have that as our flagship business. And we do manufacture for some of the key brands all over the world, because we are also a toll manufacturer. And since we're already at 82-83% market share in the Philippines, for us to continue growing, we have to expand internationally. So we've been pushing the brand all over the world, and we have a strong position in China. I think among the top brands in supermarkets and in Vietnam. We are the number 3 brand in the GCC.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And then we have good presence in Israel and North America. I think in Israel, officially or unofficially, we're also the number 3 brand there.
No kidding, in Israel. Okay.
So it happens. And pushing into the ethnic space in Europe, because there's a growing Asian African demographic in Europe. So we also have 555, which is a sardine brand that's also going through the same, let's say, push as what we're doing for Century and our canned meat business.
It makes one Filipino feel proud. Like I was in Vietnam a few months ago, and it's there. Right? This is ours. It's our fish.
Right.
They could have their own fish, and then they're eating our tuna. How did you navigate that? What was that the vision of the owner? Or is that something that you thought? Because we were Century was at 80% market share in the Philippines when you came in, I suppose, right? How much was Century then in terms of market share?
No, we've actually been more or less defending our market share position and growing the category over the last few years. That because we want to leave some space for other players as well. It's healthy for the category to have other players in being part of the category and helping grow the category. So there are innovations that come from other companies, and that's always healthy. And we figured na 80, 82 is a bit, 83 actually it's a bit too high. But it's a good position to be. But it's always good, as I said, to have some competitive dynamic, and it helps grow the category, and there's enough business for everyone. That's our attitude towards everything. But as I said, we're very competitive, and that's why every time there's like new players, we engage. But the vision of our founder, Mr. Ricardo Po Sr., really is to nourish and delight everyone, everywhere, every day. So when we processed that vision, we said, we can't just be here in the Philippines, so we have to internationalize the business. Aside from continuous growth and expansion, it was in keeping with that vision of Mr. Po of nourishing and delighting everyone, everywhere, every day. So that's why we've been pushing internationally.
I like what you said about leaving space for other competitors, and the market is big enough. It's like defining healthy competition, right?
Yes.
Welcoming other players and
in essence, it gives consumers also a range of options, but at the same time, everyone is engaging consumers and the market and the trade, and it helps grow the overall category as well as helps Philippine business in general.
And it cements your dominance in a way, because you won't be dominating if there's no other players, right? You're not going to be winning. And the expansion that you're talking about in other countries was quite successful in so many ways, because almost doubling that or even more is really a feat. What do you think is the secret to that? Is it networking, connections? Is it understanding the market very well?
So we go through a very strict and a bit of a discipline and a bit of a rigor in terms of entering a market. We would fly in and scope the market, see what the retail environment looks like, what consumers are looking for, and figure out the landscape of who we'll try to sell to and the channels by which we can get to them. And then we come back here, formulate our plan, and then we execute. We work with either distributors or local partners to move the business forward. In China, we had to set up our own business, our own company. We also have a company in Vietnam, and we have a company in the US. So it's that discipline of understanding all the dynamics of being able to compete, and then gradually executing it, carefully executing it, but in a very deliberate, consistent, and passionate way to move forward. So it goes through major steps, but those steps help us succeed.
I love it. I love what I'm hearing. Understanding first, or having the discipline to really understand what the market is, what the market needs, and before you even execute. And when you execute properly.
Yeah, we label our cans the right way. So, for example, in the US, we catered first to the Filipino community, and then to the Asian. There are about 3 million or so Filipinos in the US. And then the Asian population, when you expand to that, there's about 21 million, including the 3 million Filipinos. And then if you look at beyond Asian, there's the Hispanic community, about 50 million. So when you look at the Hispanic community, 70% are Mexicans. So our labels are bilingual, English and Spanish. But the Spanish is Mexican Spanish, so it's easy for them to appreciate the labeling of the product. And it helps. We've penetrated the Hispanic channels in the US, the big retail chains there. And from what we're seeing so far, so good.
Executing very well.
Right.
And that's the reason, probably the reason why you got the Export Marketing Award last year. Was it last year? In Agora?
For Agora, yes.
Yeah. Wow, congratulations. But speaking of Agora, that's not the only award you've won, right? It's the third award you've won so far.
Right. We were Marketing Company of the Year 2011. And then I was fortunate to be given the Outstanding Achievement in Marketing Award in 2014, and then the Export Marketing Award last year.
That's the first time I heard of your name, actually, when you won the Marketing Management Award. And I was actually blown away by your achievement. A lot of marketing executives really look up to your example. And speaking of example, what are your disciplines when it comes to marketing management?
I was fortunate to be working with, as I mentioned, with a good boss, good mentor. His name is Boy Declaro.
Boy Declaro.
Yeah, so he actually is like one of the institutions of marketing in the past. He's retired now, but he was my boss at J&J. Very, very strict discipline. Very demanding boss. In fact, he even had a bit of a temper. But I always saw his temper as like theater. He's really emphasizing a point and really needed to have that persona to drive business results. And but his discipline was really about understanding what the consumer needed, and then but going beyond what consumers would say, but go deep in terms of the consumer insight, what really motivates the consumer to move forward, and then matching that with the needs of the customer or the retailer, whether it's a sari-sari store or a supermarket, and then putting together like your program in terms of being able to win.
Nice. So, there's humility, Greg. You recognize that you learned from someone, and he obviously is a driven mentor.
Right.
I would rather describe him as a driven mentor.
Right.
He knows what he wants and he gets what he wants, and that's something that he passed on to you. And when you said that he's passionate, I would rather call it being passionate.
Right.
So when you're passionate, you emphasize on a lot of things, right? Did you carry on those attributes as you lead others or mentor others as well?
His strength was he was very analytical and very deliberate and disciplined in terms of his approach, but at the same time always had a creative slant to how to move things forward. And I guess through osmosis, I picked up on a lot of how he would move. He would do his marketing, his advertising, and his brand building. And then along the way, I've been able to meet other people and go through different experience and build my own style. And that's what I bring to the work that I do today.
Share to us more about your own style. What's Greg's own leadership or marketing style?
So I always look for experiences. So everyone understands what the consumer wants and the insights and all of that, and then I try to translate that into experience. And I try to understand the lifestyle that we're trying to create, or the lifestyle that people aspire to. So whether it's real or aspirational, and then I link the brand to those aspirations and to those experiences, and deliver it to the consumer.
I like the way you're saying that your involvement in sport helped you develop discipline. At the beginning of the interview, you were also talking about discipline as a secret ingredient for your success. How often do you do your involvement? How often do you run?
Well, people think it's discipline, but I think I'm a prisoner of my obsession. So,
okay. So it's a passion. It's something that you like.
So I train every day because I compete in Ironman or half Ironman. I do triathlon. So in most days I train at least once a day. But when there's a competition, I train about 10 sessions a week. So about 3 days in a week I have to train twice. So I'm up at 4:45 a.m. I'm on the road by 5, and then I'm done by 6:30 or so, or 6:30. Then I'm usually out of the house by 7 to get to the office.
So confess to me, are you doing all this Ironman and all this century activities because you're passionate about it, or is it the context or the insight coming from the consumers?
No, I think it's part of my lifestyle to really take care of my health. And if you do it, you need to have some sort of a goal. And competition is one of the ways by which you stay active and stay focused towards a goal.
I think what I was asking is that, did that influence the strategic direction of the campaign?
It helped that I was part of it.
Okay.
But, as I mentioned, we look for ways by which to connect with the consumer, and after looking at different opportunities, that's what we zeroed in on.
And you're right. After all, at the end of the day, it's really the consumer's experience that matters.
Right.
And I heard from a little bird that you used to be involved in ballet.
Patayin natin. No, I used to dance. I used to dance professionally for 10 years. Back in high school, my coach said, if you really want, and I was really into it. We were doing national competition, international, and then they were saying, if you really want to get good, you should do other things like cross-train with dancing and ballet. So we went to a dance school and we learned it, and it just happened that I had the talent for it. So I stayed, and I still competed and balanced the two.
And it was prescribed to you to go to dance.
Right.
Was ballet specified, or was that your choice?
No, that was what they were saying.
Really?
It's a very athletic art form with the jumps and the lifts and all of that. So you use all your muscles. So if you look at how the body of a dancer, you could see how fit they are.
And you do look fit, sir. I mean, for your age, and
that's poverty. Makain.
And you even say this is your biggest, or this.
Yeah, this is my heavyweight.
Yeah, nahihiya naman ako doon. Right. Yeah. How are you in terms of physical well-being right now? No broken muscles yet. Everything's good.
No. You follow a program that gets you to peak condition without destroying your body. So you read up on material, do the research, try a few things. It's not a one-size-fits-all. But over the years, as I mentioned, I've been more than 40 years running and competitive. I've learned the right balance and yung timpla ng workout that you need to put into place to compete.
So you have marketing management as an academic background, and you have sports involvement for your competitiveness, physical fitness, ballet.
Yeah, trip lang yan. No, it's like artistic expression maybe, and also parang racket para may kinikita ka as a student. But I continued doing it well into my professional career, and at some point, it skews off. Do you continue being an artist, or do you go to corporate? I decided to go corporate.
You actually did some shows, right? You actually
performed a lot.
And when you're the lead, and you're actually.
I've done a few.
Okay, it's beautiful to hear that a part of your life has been in the performing arts.
Yes, 10 years.
10 good years. Are you still in touch with Ballet Philippines?
Yes, actually it's their 50th year.
Okay.
And the company reached out to me because being an alumni of Ballet Philippines, they said, help us naman promote our 50th year. So I've been in different productions of Ballet Philippines, and they said, in the 50th year, we're calling home all the alumni and putting up really good shows for the season. So some of the shows I've been part of. And yeah, so we're all excited. We're starting out with Swan Lake and Midsummer's Night's Dream, and all the way to the full season. So It's something that everyone should be able to catch.
When is this happening?
Kickoff is August 30th.
August 30th.
Yeah.
And then a series of different shows.
The season continues all the way till about April next year.
Amazing. So it's almost like a full year.
Yep.
And so catch that, the 50th anniversary of Ballet Philippines.
Right.
And you get to enjoy all the beautiful shows that they produce over the years.
Yep.
So your educational background, marketing management, that's essentially your expertise now. And then being an athlete, running in field, swimming, biking, gave you the discipline, the competitiveness to win.
Right.
Now, ballet is an art form.
Right.
What did it contribute to your success? I mean,
so with ballet, it helped us. It wasn't just ballet; that was the base, and that was maybe most of what I did. And I've done all of the major productions, whether as a lead or part of the core, in different roles. But I was also into theater. We would get voice coach training with, I don't know if you remember the names like Conching Sonico. And they would train us up in theater acting, acting for dance and all of that. And it gave me a full perspective of like the creative process, and that's what I bring in as well with the work that I do. It's not just communicating, but finding ways to connect to the right brain of the consumer to have like a more impactful way of engaging the consumer.
I love it. It's the right brain, it's the creative side.
Right.
And I mean, you heard it first here. I mean, I searched this guy on the internet. I didn't see any of his ballet background there. But this is gonna go viral after this.
I don't think so.
No, thank you for sharing that. If I have to summarize everything that I've been hearing so far and what comprises your winning success in the field that you're doing for Century Tuna and for all the products that you're marketing, I would think that you did mention specifically the intent to understand, getting the context, getting it right, being able to do your homework, your research, the discipline to execute properly. I guess the precision is there, the intensity and the healthy competition that you bring into the play. Did I miss anything? What else do you think is a key ingredient?
Passion to execute. So there are a lot of people who can think through and analyze and figure out ways to be able to make things work, but at the same time, you need to be able to execute. So execution is really about discipline and working through a team. Every player has like a role to play, or every member of the team has a role to play. And we build a team that is good both at conceptualizing and executing what we need to do. So we also manage the flow of work by way of setting key priorities and making sure that the top priorities get the most attention and executed as best as way possible.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Greg Banzon, ladies and gentlemen, is not just a good team leader, he's a good team player. In the next time you see a canned tuna out there, the next time you saw one of their products, you'll remember that his company is probably one of the 2 companies who just won 3 categories in the Agora Awards. Congratulations and thank you for joining us, Greg.
Thank you.
It's wonderful having you.
My pleasure.